This tutorial is demonstrating how to do Kitchener stitch, and we want to do this without ending up with bunny ears. Kitchener stitch is done in two places here. It's done on the toe and on the heel. And what it does is it takes two live edges. So this is the end of the sock. You have the live edge top, live edge bottom. You're just knitting in the round. And then you're going to seam these two edges together by adding a knit around between. So it makes it a nice seamless edge and makes a great fit for the sock. This is the sock before we start to do anything with it. As we can see, we were working in the round. We're down to the number of stitches we want before we start to do the Kitchener stitch. And then the first thing we want to do is just combine the needles together. So we just want two needles. So we're going to combine the needles for the top of the sock and the needles for the bottom of the sock. And the way that I prefer to do this is just to slip the needles from one onto the other. So I'll just slip these over here, and then they're combined on one needle, and then I will do the same for the bottom of the sock. We start on the right side and work left, and we do 2 stitches on the top and the bottom at a time. So the general process that you're going to start with is doing the bottom first, since your working yarn is up here. So you are going to take this first stitch knitwise and off the needle, then purlwise, leave it on the needle. You'll move over to the top, and then you'll do purlwise off the needle, knitwise on the needle, and continue going back and forth in that manner. So one tip to share as you start to do Kitchener stitch, make sure that you're keeping your working yarn on the bottom of the needle. If you have it up, over, you can get extra wraps that can make it a little bit lumpy. So now that we're ready to get started, we are going to start on the bottom in this first stitch here. This one we are going to do knitwise, and we are going to pull it off the needle, and then we'll pull our working yarn all the way through, making sure that stays on the bottom there. Then for the second stitch, we're going to go through it purlwise, but this one we are leaving on the needle. We're not going to take this one off. And then I like to move my needle back over so I don't potentially lose that stitch. Then we're going to come over to the top, and we're going to make sure our yarn is wrapping underneath. This stitch we're going to do purlwise and take it off the needle. We'll pull our yarn all the way through, and then we go into the second stitch on the top. This one we go in knitwise, and it stays on the needle. So we'll go through knitwise, pull our yarn all the way through, and then I like to move my needle back. So we've now gone through 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. The stitches get worked through twice, so the one that stays on the needle, they're the ones that get pulled off on the next round. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do that again. We're gonna make sure our yarn is on the bottom, and then we're gonna do that first stitch. We're gonna go into that stitch knitwise and pull it off the needle. Then we're gonna go into that second stitch purlwise, leaving it on the needle. As you can see there, my yarn almost started to wrap over the top, so you just wanna keep an eye on that and make sure it stays on the bottom. Then we're gonna do the same thing going over to the top. We are going to do our first stitch purlwise, pull it off the needle, then into our second stitch knitwise, keeping it on the needle. It's up to you if you do both the stitches at the same time and then pull your yarn through one at a time. It's up to you how you prefer to do that. We are going to keep working our way over, so we're going to do knitwise off, purlwise on for the bottom. Then for the top, we are going to do purlwise off and knitwise on. All right, we are down to the last 4 stitches, and this stays the same at the beginning, and then there's just one little difference. So we're going to start with knitwise off, purlwise on, then we move over to the top and do purlwise off. Let's see if I can get my stitch here. Purlwise off and knitwise on. I find the top is a little bit trickier than the bottom. I think it's just because the other needle is in the way. Okay, so we've done that, and now we would start to do it again, but we don't have any stitches. And what we're gonna do is, this feels a little bit scary, but you're just gonna pull your needles out, and then you're going to pull it tight here. And then what we want to do is we are going to move this into the inside so we can weave in our ends. I like to just grab through this stitch to sort of help pull it through, and then push it on to the inside. Once you pull it through to the inside, I personally am going to do a knot or two here and then weave my end in, just because I like to keep the toe extra secure. Once you're done and you block your sock, you won't be able to tell where you started. And then once you've got the sock on, there's no ears up at the top here. When the sock isn't worn, it does kind of look like they are, but once you put it on, it's nice and seamless. If you have any questions, you're welcome to drop them below or shoot me an email. Happy knitting!